you're gonna get free this time. Falling into a blue sky mind. Came to me in that song, my friend.
Welcome back to You, Me, and the Elephant. This is your host, Deb Air. Thank you for being here. I do invest into these conversations with my energy, my heart, my time, because I feel that there's so much value that can be created as we uncover these elephants and have some deeper, nuanced conversation. With each episode, I have an idea, an objective. There's something that comes up in the field, as I always mention, and I try to put some kind of structure to it so that y'all can follow a thread for yourself and let the conversation land with you however it lands. And I'm being called to share again. We're all different kinds of learners and we get inspired in all different ways. And some of us are people that need to be writing things down because we are trying to listen. But once we write them down simultaneously, we learn more. We feel like we embody it more. And that's beautiful. Some of us, and I was like this when I first heard the founder of Network Spinal, Donnie Epstein, speak over 30 years ago, I think now. And I sat and listened to a lecture and I maybe understood 10% of what he said from the words, but there was a transmission that happened that spoke to my cells, like the very souls of my cells. And it was like an awakening, if you will. And I felt alive and I felt curious. And all I knew was like, oh, I want to know more of this. So I believe that for some of you, these episodes may be that. It may be less about understanding all of the exact words, rather that it's more of a transmission and trusting that whatever wants to wake up in this moment because you have chosen to listen to this episode is the perfect thing in this moment of your life to come to the surface, to become part of your life conversation. With that said, today is about reciprocation. What does it mean to reciprocate? And my quandary or the conversation I want to look through the frame of energy and exchange and more conscious connection, both with ourselves, but with each other or the things that we interface with, whether it's a job, whether it's obviously people in all our relationships, family, friends, community, whether it's a hobby or desire, a vision, whether it's Mother Earth, whatever we are in relationship with, can we use this quandary to look at what does it mean for energy to exchange and what does it mean to become more conscious of how we go about that. I always like to look initially at what is the common way in which we think about reciprocity. And it's very basic level. Reciprocity is about having two people or two entities, it could be an organization or a person to person, but having two entities or people investing and exchanging for mutual benefit. So I'm going to gift or give or invest my energy or time or money into something. And I am also knowing that I'm going to receive something that by giving this, I'm also receiving something. And the end net result is that both sides have mutual benefit of some kind. In an everyday simple form, it could be I go to the coffee shop, I drink matcha, but I lay down $5 and I get this exchange. It's transactional. I give the energy of money and then I get the energy of matcha back. This has come up a lot in conversation lately, tableside, in a few different instances where I've had clients gift something or be considerate in certain ways where they didn't get the response that they hoped back. And just in that, I want to pause because I think there are so many layers to reciprocation to pause on, to slow down, to consider, to feel into. And one is how do you give? And so, let me back up. With reciprocation, there is this giving and this receiving. That's what exchange is. And I think that we need to take the idea and understanding of reciprocation and bring it from that give and receive transactionality and add a few more dimensions to it that allow us to potentially discover parts of ourselves on how we give and also how we receive, and how we can understand reciprocation where it actually grows more depth and expands not only our own internal awareness about ourselves, but even can enrich your relationships. So, with that said, one of the things that has come up a lot is this idea of fairness. And it beckoned this question within myself is like, what if reciprocation wasn't about fairness, but it was about aliveness? And I'm going to say that bears repeating. What if reciprocation was not about fairness, but it is about aliveness? And this is where we go into energy. But let me take a step back. I was thinking about years ago where my son and what I call my soul daughter cleaned up the backyard without me asking. Now, there's a backdrop here is that we had looked at a puppy maybe a week prior to that. And they were like, can we get it? Can we get it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's going to be really hard. There's a lot of investment that you need to make to take care of a dog. So without me asking, they cleaned up the backyard and it looked beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I was receiving that beauty and really taking that in. So for me, there was this reciprocity of like, oh my gosh, I had this unexpected gift given to me and I'm really relishing it and receiving it. What happened is they didn't feel the same kind of reciprocity because the reason that they cleaned up the yard, which I'm sure you can guess, was because that if they cleaned up the yard, they can get a puppy, So it was a give to get. And this is the tricky part because in the word exchange, it's like, oh, there's something giving and there's something given in exchange. So there's, again, the giving and receiving. But I think it's worthwhile to look at when in life you are giving because you're motivated to receive and expecting to receive something in return for that giving. Now, transactionally, sure, I pay $5, I get my matcha. I'm expecting that. That's clean. But when we're talking about heart and soul relations, it is so much more layered and can get a lot more nuanced and sometimes very mucky. We had a great conversation after the kids cleaned the backyard. And I was like, I really appreciate the cleaning, but it warranted more conversation as to why we couldn't get a puppy in that time. But they cleaned this because they wanted something. They didn't get that thing. So do you regret that you've given that? And these are things that you can look within yourself to go, oh, where in life am I giving because I really want to get something? And if we're really honest with ourselves, we have all done this. And in general, in everyday life, we are going to have places that we even unconsciously do that. We're giving to get. And again, transactional, great, but that and giving can be giving of time, energy, money, love, presence. It can come in so many different ways, gifts, physical gifts, or even sex. Sometimes we're uncomfortable, especially in emotional situations, whether it's sex or emotionality or feeling like, well, gosh, I should do this. Or maybe what I said provoked that. And I think this happens a lot, especially with women. Were you too kind? Were you too promiscuous? And there's this whole blame game or needing of reciprocation as this even, that's it, that it's not just like this even exchange. Transactionally, it's going to be that way or it will feel that way. But someone can be kind for the sake of being kind. And that reciprocation can be that that person receives it or they don't. But that doesn't mean that because you're kind, now you have to do whatever their version of what, let's say, a woman being kind to a man means. And I think that a lot of these cultural misunderstandings or lack of having these deeper conversations can make us either freeze at times, not open into that smile, for instance, or I think we're afraid of getting misunderstood. Or let's say, either way, a man or a woman or anybody wants to pay it forward, or they want to buy the coffee for the person behind them. If we are in our wholeness and we are really just wanting to be kind and we're not thinking about, we're not thinking about being misunderstood, then we're not going to worry about doing that. But if we are worried because we are not sure of the rules of the game of how we can give and be in relationship with each other, then we end up choking up. And a lot of us are plugged into our phones, have our headphones on, and there's a lot less reciprocity of connection just in the everyday processes of life because of these little unsaid confusions of how we're supposed to be together. And I think that when you compound that with so much virtual world living, that we get rusty on how to be around people physically. So that amplifies some of this awkwardness or confusion of what something means when you bring energy to a situation. And sometimes, if we already are feeling awkward, like I was in the gym the other day and there's these two people that I know and they were talking and I didn't see them. And I was listening to a book that was, let's just say it was very intimate book. And I'm kind of in that. I'm walking around in public, but in my own world. And I turn around and there's two people that are talking that are just really acquaintances. But I smiled and I said hello. They were in conversation. So I was like, well, I don't want to go up and interrupt their conversation. And I also was in this different place. I think there was an accountability that I was actually not realizing or being accountable for or presencing. I wasn't presencing that, oh, I'm walking into an environment with other people. Should I maybe take my headphones off for a moment? Should I listen to something else that feels like it doesn't interfere with my capacity to do what I want to do at the gym, but also be open to the community vibration? The point of this story is that I feel like I probably came across as not kind, but not interested in having conversation and or not very open. And I think that that can happen a lot when we are like I was out of rhythm with my environment and I could feel it. And that doesn't mean to say that when I go to the gym I have to talk to everybody. It's not that. It's just about becoming more present in not just what is happening right here, but where you're choosing to invest your energy. Because I also value being kind to the people that my strangers that I'm working out near, whether it's a smile or eye contact. And do I have to do it all the time? No. But I do think that for me, I value being aware of the place that I'm putting my energy. I think that there's a lot of ways in which I want you to consider where you have unconsciously or very consciously given because you're wanting to receive something specifically from somebody or something. And does it feel like it comes from a place of wholeness? Or is there a part that is giving because you're lonely and you want to feel loved and you want to feel connected? Is giving because you want to feel worthy? And this is a big one. We live in this society where performance equals worthiness. So giving can be a type of performance. Sometimes we can be so used to over giving. Like, who here Raise your hand. It feels like you give so much, but that you never really get back. You feel depleted. You feel like wave after wave, you keep giving, but no one's giving it back. And that's something to really look at, because when we look at reciprocation as energy, we start to consider, why am I giving and giving and giving? And I feel out of balance, because that's an imbalance. When you feel like you're giving and giving and giving, and you walk away from a conversation over and over again, and you feel drained, or you feel like no matter what you do, it's either not right, or no one is, what do I want to say? No one is validating you, and you're always feeling like you're coming up shorthanded. That is an absolute red flag to say, what is it and why is it that I'm giving? Some of you are like, hey, I really value giving, and wherever I show up, I give 100% of myself. And I can really relate to that, because we have this life for free. We have it temporarily in this body. Why not give it 100%? Now, I get that sometimes our energy levels may be low, and sometimes giving 100% could be giving 100% to yourself and resting. But I think there's a difference, and we'll talk about this in a moment, from giving 100% of your energy to whatever and wherever you go versus giving 100% of your energy for whatever you are valuing to give in that moment, whatever alignment you are in to give. Meaning, I am probably not going to tell that barista everything about my life and give them all of me, but I am going to give them 100% of my presence and gratitude for making the best matcha, or for being kind, or for whatever it is, for considering me in some way. I will give 100% of my presence to that. But I think that there is something to value in regard to that not everything and not every person that we interface with is the same. Different relationships hold different ranges of what we give and what we invest into. This is a great personal example. I've mentioned here so many times how close I was to my mom. And as I grew into my adulthood and I went through my journey of growth and exploration and embodiment and all the things that I was hyped about, I would share everything with her. Why? Because she meant everything to me. And I found that many times when I shared things that I was unaware were out, I was probably aware of this, but I didn't take it into consideration, that we're out of her scope or map or paradigm of life. So if I'm speaking to something that is out of her understanding of life, she's 100% committed to me. So she's going to do everything to understand what that means. But inadvertently, it will be misunderstood because it's not coming from a place of understanding of how I meant the thing that I'm sharing with her, not by anybody's fault. If anything, it wasn't a fault, but it was a learning of mine to go, oh, I want to share everything with my mom of what I can share everything with. Meaning, I learned that I would get frustrated when I would share something personal with her, and she was trying to help me, but she didn't understand really what I was saying. Again, no fault of her own. So what I had to do is recalibrate and go, okay, let me really understand to the best capacity of what golden threads, if you imagine golden threads between you and your people, you and your job, you and your life. Imagine golden threads of what you're actually in connection with at that time. See what golden threads you have between you. See the language and the maps of understanding that you share. And that is where you want to exchange. That is where reciprocation will come in, because that is where each person has energy. So we're walking into connection already with energy. I think most of you would agree that you're shitty receivers. We've talked about this also on here. And again, to go back to a culture that prides itself on worth and performance, there's a real reason why we're shitty receivers, because giving means performance, and giving means that we're a good person, and giving means that we are worthy. It's a little trickier when we're receiving because there's these deep parts of us that won't feel like we're worthy to receive unless we've worked really freaking hard and done all these things. Like, who has felt like, oh my God, like I earned my pay today? Like I worked hard. And there's something really prideful in that. And even though that's not bad within itself, that also is the energy of the culture that many times we have to go into detriment just to feel worthy of whatever it is. So we can feel like we're unworthy to receive, like, who am I to, do I deserve this? It's like someone saying, oh, I really like your blouse. And you're like, oh, it's like $5 at Goodwill. And it's like, why do we do that? Well, we don't feel like we're worthy to receive that. And now some of you might go, yeah, no, I really like getting into people's energies. I like want to suck it up when I'm around good people. But even if you are someone who really is like, yeah, no, 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 I like taking this stuff, or I get all the free stuff when free stuff is offered and I'm really good at it. I want to say this, that I think there's still something to look at within ourselves, that I think taking is different than receiving. I think taking is like, it's that part that goes, I'm sick of feeling less than. It's like the fair part, the fairness, the world owes me. So I'm going to take it. And I believe with every one of us that has done that, because we all have in some way, that there's something deeper down that goes, yeah, this doesn't feel right. Or it lasts, but not that long. It fills your cup, and then you need it more and more and more. And that's what happens too when we are in relationships with friendships or partners, and we are giving, giving, giving. And it's like no matter how much we give, it's just not enough. Or if someone is so giving to us and we keep taking, we start going like, it's just not enough. So this is really, to go back to energy, it's about energy exchange, not just transactionally, but energy alchemization, meaning that when you leave your connections, which connections in your life do you leave consistently feeling drained? Which places in your life do you leave a conversation or leave an environment that you've been in and you feel energy, you feel more alive? Because the gift of true reciprocation isn't about like tit for tat or an even score. It's about being able to have life grow. It's not just the 1 + 1 = 2. It's that when that dynamic of investment comes in, that it actually exponentiates something that you didn't even know until you invested and that other person invested, and it created babies of energy and inspiration, and it woke up different parts of you that wouldn't have woken up if that exchange or merger of energy didn't come together to alchemize into something brand new, something novel, something that gave you a creative vigor that you never would have seen otherwise. So it's not a scorecard. It's not like, well, this is how much I've given you. So rather, it's a sacred current. There's a couple people I'm thinking of. There was this one woman who, her desire is to have more people that she feels connected with and that she feels important in their lives with and feels more loved. I think what had happened is she had given somebody a gift for something. And then she was having a housewarming party, and these people came and they didn't bring her a gift. And initially that really hurt for her. Initially she was like, what the hell? Like, I gave them a gift. Why are they not giving me a gift? Again, transactional. And honestly, and this is no fault of us, that like sometimes we're at our most basic moment where we're feeling so lonely, we're feeling like we just want to fill our cup, that is the best we can do to be like, if I give this, then I will get something back. When that is the main motivation behind giving, it will almost always fall short. And the reason for that is because we're giving for the wrong reasons. We're giving because we're feeling lonely. We're giving because we feel unseen. We're giving because we feel misunderstood. We're giving for reasons that from a place of insecurity or not feeling safe. And a lot of times we're setting ourselves up for even more hurt. And I'm thinking of this other woman who had this beautiful gift for her partner. She was so excited about it, and it wasn't received the way she hoped. And she put a lot of energy and thought and heart into it. And she was really upset. I don't know who originated this saying, but there is someone who once said, if it is hysterical, it is historical. What I take from that is that when we notice that we are really upset at something and it's just one exchange or one gift or one thing, almost 100% of the time, it is more of a pattern, and that there's some deeper information that wants to emerge and to be witnessed and to be realized that is happening that hasn't been spoken to. There is a deeper, bigger elephant, and that is just like the symptom. The symptom is like, what the F? I did all this, because it's not to say that doing something and surprising someone and having them not respond the way you want can't feel hurtful. It absolutely can. That it can't feel confusing. It absolutely can. What it's also an invitation into is what's really going on beneath the surface. What is really upsetting you? What was maybe behind your desire to give this gift? Some of the things, like in this example, is that here's someone who missed their partner. They've been doing life and raising a family and doing business and work and all the things all at once, and managing finances. And here's somebody who misses their partner and wanted to do something really kind. Now, this person's partner, in the foreground of their awareness, they were like, oh my God, we can't afford this. So they were on this platform of trying to hold up how to take care of the family and how to be fiscally responsible, and what that person thought meant or equaled being responsible, which is actually a form of love, a form of caring. But there is a mismatch happening. And maybe the person who gave the gift didn't consider that, because they were really in their heart going, I miss this person and I want to share some connected space with them. And the other partner was like, I want to make sure that our family is okay and this doesn't feel feasible. So my way of showing connection is to make sure I don't do that, get a refund so that we can stay intact as a family. But underneath that were patterns. Underneath that were ways in which each partner feels like they hold it all together in their way, maybe by themselves. And that these were more delicate pieces that they held separately. And that in that space between is what they were longing to try to understand and reconnect with each other. But they were just on different pages on how to do that. And I commend them both because they were both in their own aspects or forms of hurt and frustration. And they bravely came together and had a deeper conversation. So these kinds of things, even when reciprocation doesn't seem like it happens, especially with people that you love dearly and that are important to you, can it be an invitation to see what patterns, what is underneath the frustration? What is underneath the feeling that things aren't being received or you're not receiving the energy that you hoped in return? Where does giving in your life feel safe? Where does giving in your life feel validating? And again, I know that sounds almost like a contradiction that I'm saying we don't give to get, but it's okay to feel validated. It's okay to say, "Oh, you love my shirt. You know, it felt so good. And I'm really excited about it. I'm glad you noticed it. Thank you so much." Receiving is a necessity of reciprocation. And if you are going to say, "Yeah, but I can't receive it. I suck at receiving," then you got to look at what is happening inside where there is a part of you that feels ultimately that you don't deserve to receive. And a reminder, putting people on pedestals and being like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, give me all the information, take, is not the same as receiving. I want everybody's ears to perk up right now because for all of us, receiving requires some aspect of vulnerability. And in a world of performance and feeling, in order to keep up with the things that we're passionate about, we need to be in a sense of control. Receiving often is felt as a weakness, but yet it's what we crave most. You want to look at, where do you feel imbalanced? If you are giving way too much and exhausted, it is time to take some inventory, to understand yourself better, and really take an honest look at, where are you giving for the wrong reasons? And where can you soften? Because sometimes we can give, but we're giving hard. We're like almost giving to deflect anything coming at us. Like, I don't want to feel anything. I'm just going to give, 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 give. But at the end of the day, we feel exhausted because our being knows that there's not the exchange there, and there's a true imbalance happening. So look at those places that may feel hurt, that may be coming from old wounds, that maybe have been identifying with how you found strength in the world and power through your career, through your relationships. And where can you sink into softening and having a little deeper truth within yourself of what hurts? And also, instead of projecting that outward, where can you really find your worth and love for yourself and know that you are worthy by nature of being who you are? Can you, for 1 week, write 10 things about yourself that are lovely, that are kind, that are brilliant, that are soft, that are badass? Can you highlight that enough for yourself? Because when we come in needing and we're already in an empty tank and then we keep giving, it is never a place to start and expect reciprocation. But it could be a good time to ask yourself, what would it take for me to truly receive love, care, support, or recognition? Can you do it without having to preface or shrink it? Can you just receive it? And if you feel a little discomfort, that means you're really receiving, because it's hitting those places that have rejected the ability to take in love or to take in real, true care and presence, because ultimately you feel like you don't deserve it. And what that does lead to is resentment, because the part of you that knows that you deserve more, it's not about the other person. It's about, we need to become a little bit more conscious about how we choose our relationships. You don't have to give 100% of yourself to every relationship. What you want to bring to each relationship is clarity. Like I did with my mom, I had to reassess and build clarity of those golden threads of what we both valued, what we both understood. And from there grew deeper and deeper connection with her. I went other places with people who were in my line of work or had the same value system and shared these other kinds of experiences that became exponentially alive and inspiring. It's not, I did this, so it's only fair that I get it back. That's exhausting. It is exhausting. You deserve more. And it's honestly our individual responsibility to do our own energy hygiene, to go, if I keep walking away feeling like I'm giving the world everything and I'm getting nothing in return, the first place you have to look is yourself. This woman that I was talking to about this gift that she gave, and she was frustrated and angry, and really underneath that hurt. One of the things that I shared with her was, and is something that I learned within myself, is that often the things that frustrate us the most about people and hurt us the most about people are the things that we have most denied to feel within ourselves. So it starts here in asking different questions and looking beyond the fairness quotient and looking more into the energy alchemization. And here's the thing, you may not know, you may have a new friend, or you may have a family member that you need to do what I did with my mom. And I had to do this with one of my brothers. It was like, I just kept giving because, like, I'm a good person and I'm going to do anything for this person. And they're my brother. So I'm going to save them. I'm going to help them. You can't save people. You can choose to give your energy in certain ways. And if you continue to do that and you continue to feel drained, then that is a reflection that says, wait, I need to pause here. This is out of alignment. What clarity do I need to look at in myself? And you can bring it to that relationship. And when you do, if that is met with non-receivership, if that is met with you're crazy or gaslighting, then that is also information that says, wait, this is not the relationship I thought it was. So it allows you to reframe, reorganize how you give, or what parts of you give in that relationship. And I think that's a very different way at looking at, like, I got to set boundaries and I don't want anybody to cross them as much as I value, believe me. Boundaries, can we enter that by gaining clarity and having real deep, honest conversations with our own elephants, and looking at what I'm most hysterical at is what is historical. It's what I most denied in myself. And how can I go into relationships that feel safe? Can I pick people who value the same things, that will honor the same sacred agreements and values that I do, that I can learn to begin to slowly soften and trust that my softening is part of my strength, that my softening is part of my contribution. It's part of the reciprocation. How can reciprocation be less of a scoreboard and more of a sacred current between you and you, between you and your relationships, between you and your life? As always, it is such an honor and pleasure and a beautiful, big, fat, juicy elephant speaking with you and being in the space with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time. And now, Trevor Hall with Blue Sky Mind.
It's in and through the body. All along, in and through the body. All along, it's in and through the body. All along, in and through the body. All along, it's in and through the body.